In today's fast paced, hyper connected world, leadership is often mistaken for control. But listeners, just imagine what if real leadership is about awareness? What if the path to productivity begins not with KPIs, but with compassion? Welcome back, listeners, to this episode of the BizBlend podcast. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and my guest today has spent 25 years mastering that very balance, leading global teams at the intersection of technology, strategy, and soul. Listeners, he's a leader who speaks in both code and consciousness, blending enterprise software with mindfulness, merging data driven logic with Jungian insight. So, today we are going to explore what it really means to lead with both precision and presence, and how emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and balanced living can transform not just how we work, but who we are while we work. So, listeners, meet my incredible guest, John Brazier. So, John, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really happy and honored to have you here with us.
Thank you very much. That's a great introduction, and I'm very humble. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Um, okay, before we talk about mental health, mindfulness, something which I am very curious to understand, John. Um, you know, we are going to talk about balanced living and leadership. And now, connected with this, often in many of my conversations, um, there's something people say work-life balance. Do you think that it is possible to achieve balanced living, or it can be messy? I mean, it is not everyone's cup of tea. What exactly, how would you define balanced living? So that's a big question, but yeah.
Yeah, work-life balance has been a kind of a term um, used, especially after COVID, right? When everybody was working from home. Prior to that, work-life balance really wasn't a big term being used because you show up to work at 9, leave at 5, and what you do after that is up to you. When people started working from home 24/7, right? Um, it became it became critical that leaders focus on acknowledge that there's a need to balance work with your family life, your home life, because working from home, um, statistics have shown people work longer, more hours. Um, right, meeting times are all over the board because it's so easy to just go in and pop open the laptop and get to work. So there's definitely a there's a work life balance that must be defined and defined as clearly as possible. It's too easy to work all day. It's just
Yeah,
too easy.
true. And the kind of tricky part is that, it's kind of taken as a badge of honor or some accomplishment. The more you work, the harder you work, and the better you are as a contributor. But
Correct.
I've seen multiple examples contradicting this very belief.
Well, what you just said is I always that's how I thought. I thought, hey, if I work hard, if I put in extra hours to get things done and take on more responsibility, I'll succeed and I'll move up. And then I was laid off. So it's a very common thought. It logically it makes sense, but does not work that way in the business world. Just does not. The more work you put in does not equate to more promotions, more money, what we would typically think.
Yeah.
Um, that's firsthand knowledge, right? um, yeah, I went down that path. I'd work every Saturday morning and Sunday morning for a couple of hours because I got up early, and I always thought in the back of my head, this will help me, but no, it didn't. All it did was it took away that the life part of the work-life balance. I thought I was balanced pretty well, but I wasn't. I was pushing myself to do more and to get better, which is great, but the expectation that that's gonna come with some reward is false.
Exactly. 100, I don't know, I mean, infinite percentage, because exactly that's what happened. When you kind of raise the bar on expectations, um, and life is unpredictable. Any, and people say that, you should always keep your personal and professional lives separate. But
Mhm.
from my experience, I mean, I don't know whether it's my incapability, or maybe I'm not skilled at that. I couldn't do that. Things which happened in the personal life, they always have been affecting professionally as well. And it,
And vice versa.
yeah, yeah. And
It goes both ways. You're right.
it's both ways, and it can affect your output. And once you start going down that rabbit hole, um, it's like, everybody will question your um existence in the company or in the team. So,
Your loyalty
well,
and your yeah, your capabilities, uh, and your willingness, right? You have a death in your family, and something like that can't there is no way it can't impact your work. No way, right?
that exactly, exactly.
Anything that's on your mind, it comes to work with you, and whatever happens at work that's, you know, in any way traumatizing goes home with you, right? So it impacts so the work-life balance is not just, are you are you s spending an equal amount of time at home, or, personally, doing whatever outside of work that you are at work. That's not it. It's emotional. It's mental. So many leaders lead with their ego. It's a power thing, right? I'm in charge, because I'm the manager. Um, and you only get, policy says you get 3 days bereavement when, you know, a loved one passes, for example. Um, the leadership role includes empathy and integrity.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is it encompasses a lot of these types of terms, but when it comes down to it, it's about treating human beings exactly like they should be treated, no different than you would want to be treated. And that work-life balance, from a manager's point of view, where empathy is not a tool that the manager, the leader is using, the impact on the individual contributor is it's massive. I'm kind of all over the place with this, but it just it 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 comes down to prioritizing teams as humans. It's if your home life is not well, you won't produce the highest quality deliverable on time.
True.
It's impossible. But if everything's good at home, everything's good at work. It just balance. That's the balance. It's enabling leaders need to enable their teams to go through what they need to go through at home. Otherwise, they simply, if we're going to look at KPI, right? If we're going to look at production and output, that's how you get it. And that comes secondary. If you put the people first and and really show them how valuable they are,
Mm.
the by prioritizing their home life requirements, um, it, that's how it works. It unfortunately we throw business or work into the mix of relationships, and it changes things because we have rules, we have regulations, we have policies, we have procedures. You only get how many sick days, you only get how many bereavement days, depending on the closeness of, say, a relative that has passed. There are hard and fast rules, and leaders have to stand by those. Unfortunately, it kills productivity. It can kill a whole relationship. It can kill a whole team dynamic. Um, Prioritizing the team and the individuals over the leader's self is paramount. That shows the value that I value you, not just you, but you and your world outside of this job, your family. This is where I was very successful with my team because I didn't stick to all of the policies and the rules. It was by individual. I had, inside of 5 years, I had 5 people lose a parent, 6, including me, all within within a 5-year period. And each individual took it and grieves differently. Uh, there are different traditions. My whole team was in India, every one of them. I'm in the United States. I, years ago, started studying the culture because I wanted to better relate with these other human beings that I'm working with. When so each of them, one, um, you know, a parent had passed, but she was back to work in 2 days. And I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you back to work?" Well, that's what she needed to do to grieve. Work. Kept her mind off it. Whatever she wanted. Others took, 5, 10 days. And by, you know, by here's the empathy. W- How would I feel? What would I want? Well, I love the idea of everybody grieves differently for different amount of times. And I have to, as a leader, especially around grief like that, I had I not taken that each individual at a time and allowed them to do what they needed to do, and I forced them, say, to be back to work in 2 days or what have you, that they're not going to be happy with their job. They're not going to do well. Production drops, all of that. So it comes down to valuing each person as a human. And we often, too often, get tied up in managerial structures and, um, you know, we're not talking about feelings at work. Well, I did because that's human nature. So making it as human as possible. So I didn't have to work so much on a work life balance as I did on um, a work personal life dance. Yeah, everything was choreographed based on each individual and what they needed.
Then I think that so much makes sense. And I also think that, this is a huge misconception, especially when it comes to empathy or emotional intelligence, that, these are all soft skills and it makes a leader weak, because a leader is is assumed to be always strong and, have all the answers to and solutions to all things. But on the flip side, I also believe that yes, as a leader, we need to have that mental strength in order to find, or at least acknowledge and try to work out around a solution of the problem, or to at least face that challenge or adversity.
Mhm.
But what would you say to the skeptics, or maybe listeners who are actually in the leadership position, or they believe that, a leader should always be very strong-willed and, aggressive. There's no place for such, soft skills or
Yeah,
emotions.
right. You're correct. There's there there is a perception that what we're talking about here is a weakness in leadership. What's misunderstood is what the leader gets back in return by leading with empathy, vulnerability, compassion. What you get back is what you give. Um, Here's something that I always told my team. Um, I'm your 500-pound gorilla. If you have a problem that you can't resolve, I will help you. That's my job. Um, but that does not mean that I am all powerful, um, bigger, better, smarter, faster, stronger. That's
Mhm.
the misconception, is that the manager, the leader has all the power. I would, I don't know how many times I would pull my team together because something has come up that is urgent that we need to do for, a given customer, and it needs to be done quickly. I would pull them together and say, okay, we've got a challenge in front of us. Here's what the challenge is. Now, I I would say, you all know I am not the smartest in this room. I'm not the smartest on this call. I need everybody's brain. Um, that is, again, showing the value that you have in your team. Um, it's rare that, in my opinion, that a single leader of a team of multiple people is bigger, better, faster, stronger than the team combined. I just don't believe that. The leader is there to be a 500-pound gorilla when there's a problem. The objective, of course, is to keep everybody at the highest performing capacity possible, delivering on time, highest quality. In order to do that, I needed to. There are times where a leader needs to step in and take control of uh, uh, any given situation, say where there's conflict between somebody on your team and a counterpart in a different department that they have to work with every day. Say, a technical writer and a product manager, and the technical writer is struggling every day because the product manager is difficult to work with. And so how do we resolve that? If the individual on your team could resolve it, they would have, but they're talking to you about it because they can't resolve it. So I'm going to help you in whatever is the proper way. Maybe I'm going to talk to their manager. Maybe I'm going to talk to my own manager. But then that same 500-pound gorilla also has empathy and there's no danger. It's always a safe space with your manager, because if it's not, then you're not going to get the truth of any given situation. If there's fear that their manager's going to yell at them or otherwise, punish them in some form or fashion, um, emotionally or by, taking away a bonus or what have you, there's no guarantee or even the chances of them being honest at all times.
Okay.
It goes away, it drops, right? Because they're in fear. So I'm going to try and cover this up so that I don't get punished or what have you. So ensuring that safe space and always empathetic with value behind it. You can still do your job. There are times I've had to have those difficult talks. And although it seems as though, you know, difficult conversations about where somebody needs to improve, that, you need to be have this attitude and I'm in charge kind of. But that's where it's most important to have that empathy and to present those difficult discussions with a sense of vulnerability in yourself, that because it comes across. Um, if somebody says, "Hey, you need to you need to improve your writing skills in this way over here, or I'm going to take this project away from you." Um, versus let's have a discussion about effective writing. and giving examples and leading towards this is what you need to work on, but getting that enthusiasm into them will almost always guarantee the outcome that the leader's looking for. But to go into anything with that puts people in any state of fear. Oh my gosh, my manager wants to talk to me first thing in the morning. If that fear is there, there can't be effective communication. There can't be. So, so it was always, it's imperative that the team trusts that you're not coming after them, with ill intent, right? We're going to help. We need to help each other to be better. Um, and being honest with yourself, because it is too often that uh, somebody's put in a management position and they've got that sense of power, but there's also this sense of I'm better than everybody else. That's why I got this job. That's why I'm here. It's because I'm better than everybody else. So I know better. And that's just not the truth. Again, I go back to one brain being better than five. And that's not the case. That's never the case.
And also before we wrap up, I think this is such an important aspect because um it's not just that, there is no um proof behind it or there is no science behind it. It has been practiced. The results, you have seen the results, you have seen the
Yeah,
output, and you have also studied the Jungian philosophy.
sure.
And I mean, for over 30 years, that's quite a dedication in there, John. So, um, how does the concept of the shadow, how does it, the part we often ourselves we often deny, how does it show up in peers or organizations who are under stress?
That is such a great question. The shadow. And this is where this is what the this is where if you can integrate your shadow into your life, the shadow being the place where we store everything that society says is bad.
Mm.
And we shouldn't be this way or that way, and yet we are. That's in our shadow, right? The persona is what we show people. You're you're speaking to my persona, right? This is what I want people to, how I want people to see me and think of me. But behind that, in the shadow, are, for example, you know, I didn't stick to the policies when it came to highly emotional, impactful life conditions that happen to everybody. The Where the shadow comes out is, I think, it's when it's kind of invited out as a new manager, because again, there's that feeling, that thought of I'm bigger, better, faster, stronger. I hold the power card. I'm in charge. All of that is shadow, right? Because I mean, you don't act like that when in normal society. Then you won't have any friends, right? I mean, but yet for some reason it comes out in business because the perception is that it's acceptable for a manager to say use fear or become angry. Um, that's that's the shadow coming through, and it 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 comes through in a work situation more. The shadow side is more acceptable. Therefore, it's seen more in business in these high pressure situations because if we got to get something done by the end of this week, if my team doesn't get it done, it's not my team that's going to be reprimanded. It's me.
Exactly.
So now I've got a fear that I'm going to get it if my team doesn't do this right. So I'm going to project my shadow onto my team. Just it comes out, especially in those times of fear or 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 pressure. And the team's production, it's my my manager isn't going to be questioning me about why these three people on my team weren't able to get it done. They just want to know from me. It's all on me. So to get the team to do what they need to do to avoid me being reprimanded or punished, that's where I'll project my shadow. And I say that like that's normally where it comes out. Being aware of all that from all the
Mm.
years that I've studied Jungian, Carl Jung, and the shadow and integrating the shadow, I knew better, right? So when I got in the position in 2007 to be a manager, I knew right away that 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 if I did not if I was not aware of my own shadow projection, I would not be successful because the team would not stay together. Shadow projection, that's where, again, people leave their managers. They don't leave the company for many other reasons except their manager. And it's typically the shadow projection that's got them because in their personal life, managers are just normal people. They're nice, they're kind, they're thoughtful, they're all the things. But in a work situation, especially where there's a fear involved or the possibility of something that's going to happen to me, naturally the shadow is going to be projected, and it's never projected up, right? I'm not going to project my shadow on my boss, but yeah, so it gets projected onto the team, and the awareness of your own shadow is extremely important.
Makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. So, before we conclude, John, I think this is so interesting, and I'm very sure our listeners they would also like to explore that uh, how exactly empathy or emotional intelligence or mindfulness, why do all these matter, and how we can start um, blending all of these into our daily life, especially in areas where whether it's leadership or parenting or anything. So, if they would like to get some guidance and would also like to share their thoughts with you and, seek your resources, what would
Mm.
be the best?
I am working on a website where we can have discussions or people can reach out and contact me, and where I'm writing and explaining kind of my own leadership philosophy that combines everything we've talked about, the emotional intelligence, being able to be vulnerable. Vulnerability in a manager is very rare. there's a certain amount of confidence that I need to have in myself, in my leadership skills to empower people, which empowering people to, okay, we need to get this done. Well, how should we do that? The answer is, I don't care. That's up to you. I'm giving you full autonomy on how you're going to do it. Just do it. It just needs to be done, right? The end result needs to be this or that. So combining all of these kind of what you kind of deemed up front as the soft skills, results in a in a smaller chance that these big rough and power needs to, you don't need to use that as often. You don't need to, there's no need for that if you can use the emotional intelligence and all the soft skills correctly. That doesn't mean be nice all the time. This is the misconception, is that you just be a nice guy. Just be a nice guy. Well, your team's not going to be effective if you're a nice guy all the time. So combining, and here's where the awareness of your own shadow and where it can help you, because there are times people make mistakes. People do things in a way that they've been taught not to do. There are a million reasons why, you would have to have a conversation with somebody to over their performance. I love this term. It's all in the delivery. It's how you do it. It's how you bring awareness to the situation. And to walk away from a meeting where you're telling somebody, look, you're doing this wrong. You need to change. This isn't going to work. You're making too many mistakes. If you can walk away from a meeting like that, where your direct report is enthusiastic about moving forward, you've used all those soft skills correctly. Because think about it. It's, if I just come at you and I just start, straight in on, okay, this is not going to work. The way that you're instantly in going to be psychologically in a state of fear. Oh my God, I'm in trouble. My boss is mad at me, and it'll last for weeks. You'll ruminate and ruminate about that. But if you can go in with empathy and integrity, empathy being put yourself in their shoes, right? That's the ability. If I can put myself in their shoes, how would I want this addressed to me? Well, I would like it addressed to me in, at minimum, a calm fashion. That's how I'm going to do it. Treat others as you want to be treated. That's kind of everything wrapped up. Is how would you want to be treated? Just because you're a manager doesn't make you any more superhuman than anybody else. You're still just a human.
Right. So, uh, John, I think this was such a reflective and very, very profound look into mental health, emotional intelligence. I think it's such an important part of leadership. And
Mhm.
thank you so much for blending the ancient and the modern so seamlessly. That's, I think, what I can take away from here on for actually showing us that leadership isn't about hierarchy, but it's about harmony.
It's about people. It is about people. And if you want a highly effective and efficient team to deliver the highest quality deliverable on time, treat them as humans and nothing less.
Okay. So, to all my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of BizBlend. I'm your host, Sana, reminding all of you that the best leaders don't just build teams, they build awareness. Until next time, breathe between the meetings. Thank you.